All right, Tennessee Titans fans, we are back today with a clip from the Pat McAfee show. And this is going to be tough. I hope he don't say nothing that makes me mad because I love Pat. We all love Pat McAfee. I mean, if you love the game of football, if you love sports, how do you not like Pat McAfee? Even though he's an Indianapolis man, even though he's a Colts man and a Colts fan, how do you not like Pat McAfee if you are a fan of this great game? But this is him talking about the signing of Calvin Ridley and maybe even with the guys on his show giving the Titans a little love. It says as the AFC South on the rise. Pat McAfee usually spins things in a positive way on his show. We'll see.
Another division that has South in it. Ooh. The AFC South don't look now. Okay? They starting to become the AFC beast. You know, everybody starts talking about how strong all these other, divisions are. And the AFC South was a laughing stock. Had more wins in the playoffs than the NFC East. Just
how about that?
Would like to let everybody know. That was a rookie quarterback, so he's going to be here for the next 20 years in the AFC South. That Tennessee Titans say, we got Will Levis. We certainly do. We don't know what we have in him, but we got Callahan.
I'll say this. If you look across the divisions in the NFL right now, I would probably say the AFC North is probably the most stacked division. Ravens, Bengals, Steelers. I mean, I don't know how they're going to be this year, but the Steelers always seem to be in the middle of everything. The Browns were a playoff team last year with a great defense. So the AFC North, they seem pretty stacked, but the AFC East, I know the Bills, some people think they might be taking a step back this year, but they still got Josh Allen. Okay, they're still the Bills. The Jets with Aaron Rodgers, maybe. The Dolphins are always good until it gets cold. So, like, the AFC East could be good. The West has the Chiefs. That alone makes that division good. And then the NFC, I mean, the East may be the best, but like he said, the AFC South, the one team we sent to the playoffs in Houston, had more wins than either team that the NFC East sent. So, I don't know. The West has the 49ers and Rams. So, I mean, that might be the North with Detroit and Green Bay. I mean, there's some good divisions.
Coming in, he's selling repair parts for the American man. Because that's who he is.
And that's who he works for.
That's who he works for.
That's who he cares
and he's bringing his dad in.
Exactly.
His dad did the same exact thing.
Yep.
Who knows what the offense will look like with the Titans? They're going through a full rebuild, reculture down there. Maybe Will Levis is a guy. But they signed.
Keep in mind, this is March 14th, so there was still no L'Jarius Sneed. By this point, we had Pollard. The draft had not happened yet. So I don't have a problem with him saying, hey, they're on the rebuild. Who knows? It's hard to be mad at Pat McAfee,
Mason Rudolph yesterday off the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The big one.
Yeah. Remember, Pittsburgh Steelers, Mason Rudolph at the end of his career at Pittsburgh Steelers, lighting up the scoreboard, throwing it around. The entire city of Pittsburgh was chanting this man's name when just a year before that they were hoping that he would get out of town. Big babyface turn for Mason Rudolph because of how he played on the field.
I love the pro wrestling terminology. Big babyface turn for Mason.
How he carried himself. And I think he would say he became the best version of himself while he was at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers fans fell in love with Mason Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph's an underrated signing, I think, for Tennessee. Some people didn't like it. There's always going to be a group of people that don't like certain moves. But I like Mason Rudolph as a backup quarterback. I think that he did bring the best version of himself when he got in last year in Pittsburgh for Kenny Pickett. They were in the playoffs. I mean, they were a playoff team. They were never going to win a playoff game, but they got there. They were in the playoffs, despite the fact that many people didn't think they were going to make it. Mason Rudolph played well, so I actually like that signing of Mason Rudolph to come in to be a backup quarterback if Will gets hurt and has to miss a week or two. This is a guy that can come in and win you some games.
He's now at the Tennessee Titans.
Whoa.
Tennessee Titans fans go, okay, Will Levis, Mason Rudolph, we got guys that can spin it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Fans weren't the only ones that saw that happen.
Yeah.
Other players around the league saw that.
Yeah,
Very quick. They saw it very quickly.
Free agents around the league saw that. Calvin Ridley said, get me to Tennessee.
Now.
Yeah. I need to be in Tennessee.
All right, Pat, come on. I don't think Calvin Ridley signing had anything to do with Mason Rudolph. Okay. Hold on now. Hold on. Calvin Ridley, I think it didn't have very much to do. I think it had more to do with that 4-year, $92 million that it says there in the title at the top of the screen up here. I think it had a little more to do with that. But if there was a player that had something to do with Calvin Ridley wanting to come to Nashville, I don't think it was Mason Rudolph. All due respect to Mason. I just said I like that signing. I doubt that was the driving force behind Calvin Ridley coming to Nashville.
Stacked. Calvin Ridley represented by Mulugeta. Mulugeta posted a photo of this moment right here where Calvin Ridley agrees to a $90+ million deal with the Tennessee Titans to play wide receiver opposite of D-Hop, I believe, which is quite a
and we all know Tyler Boyd, obviously, since then.
tandem for the Tennessee Titans to have here in the AFC South. But Mulugeta gets another deal done. And a lot of people are saying, Calvin Ridley was linked to the Patriots. Calvin Ridley was linked back to the Jags. Nobody had the Titans in play. Soon as Mason Rudolph gets signed by the Titans, Calvin Ridley and Mulugeta knew exactly where they needed to go.
Stop it, Pat. Yeah, this guy... Mason Rudolph was the deciding factor.
This comeback story for Calvin Ridley is a beautiful one. I'm incredibly pumped and proud of him. I'm happy for him. We don't know him at all other than just watching his story from afar. He's a man, obviously, was suspended for a year, found himself, if you read the... what's that one from
Players Tribune?
The Players Tribune article that he wrote, basically talking about him being the best version of himself, taking the year's suspension to learn about himself, get healthier than he's ever been, played great ball with the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that we all thought was potentially going to go on a run, turn around everything for him, and now he gets a $90+ million bag from Tennessee. Good for him, and good for the Titans investing big here in an off.
You know, I think to talk to Jaguars fans, obviously I pick on the Jaguars a lot because obviously it's a Titans channel. But things fell apart for the Jaguars, okay? They were 8-3. Looked like they were poised to win the South, host playoff game, and maybe be around, in the mix. And it ended in disaster, right? I mean, they end 9-8. All they had to do was beat what was left of the Tennessee Titans in the last game of the year, and they couldn't do it. Disaster. I mean, a true disaster for Jacksonville last season. And of course, to hear Jags fans talk about it, they will blame it all on Calvin Ridley. Like, of course, the players who are leaving, they are easy targets. I get that. Like, I'm not even dogging them for that. I think, there's been some questions raised about Calvin Ridley's route running in Jacksonville, that he quit on routes. He had butterfingers. He dropped some balls. When you fall apart like Jacksonville did, and listen, I'm coming at this with humility because I'm in a good mood today. It happened to Tennessee last year, right? It's same thing. Tennessee looked like they were poised to win the AFC South. And then Jacksonville came all the way back. We went on that 7-game losing streak. Disaster, right? I know what that looks like. When that kind of stuff happens, it's on everybody. It's on everybody. When you have a collapse like that, there's enough blame to go around. Calvin Ridley had a good season with the Jaguars last year. I don't think Trevor Lawrence was as good as people thought, but he got hurt. I will give him that. He got hurt. That affects things. When you have an injury that you're having to work through, that affects things, I know. I think there were some offensive and defensive line issues for Jacksonville last year that they've tried to address this offseason. But I think Calvin Ridley showed enough that there's a reason why he was the top free agent in the wide receiver market this year. And there's a reason Jacksonville, like they just said, Jacksonville thought he was coming back, and they were excited about him coming back, and New England wanted him. There's a reason for that.
Season in which we didn't know what the hell they were going to do.
Yeah, I feel like every team who wanted a wide receiver wanted Calvin Ridley. Like, he was at the top of everybody's list. As a Patriots fan, I wanted Calvin Ridley very bad. The Colts, you wanted Calvin Ridley. I know Tony even threw his hat in the ring with Calvin Ridley. And, obviously with Mike Williams getting released from the Chargers, yesterday, that adds to the market. So as a fan of a team who didn't get him, you hope that you can kind of set your sights on the next guy up, Mike Williams. But at the same time, I saw a lot of Titans fans reacting to it, super pumped. This is awesome. And then finding out he was 29 years old has kind of changed some people's mindsets. I, for one, do not care.
He doesn't play like he's 20.
No, who gives a shit? I do not care.
And 29 is your prime. They say like you're...
I agree. Who cares? If you play, come on. Like
the peak body is what, 28 to 30 or 2 or something.
And he didn't take hits for
that.
a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Yeah, which I guess you can add on as a benefit. He even got healthier throughout those years. But yeah, I can understand 29-year-old wide receiver getting $90+ million at a brand new organization where you don't even know who the quarterback's going to be yet. It's certainly something that Titans fans could go, what the hell's going on? But I assume Titans fans asking what the hell's going on had questions when Vrabes was fired, when, maybe A.J. Brown was traded on draft day. There's been a lot of things that have happened in the Titans fandom over the last 5 years, we'll say, that could lead them to maybe not trust the entire process.
a lot of those people are gone, though, Pat. I will say a lot of those people are gone. John Robinson, Mike Vrabel, that's GM and head coach who were there when A.J. Brown was traded. And that was stupid. We all knew it was stupid when it happened, and now in hindsight, it's been proven to be stupid. Those guys are coincidentally not here anymore. And I know a lot of people were baffled. A lot of Titans fans were baffled by the firing of Vrabel. I've talked about it till I'm two-tone blue in the face. I wasn't, because I watched the games. If you watch this team and how lifeless this organization was for the last 2 years, it was not that surprising. And a lot of people could say, wow, what are the Titans doing? This was March 14th. Think about where we are on June 27th as I record this. Now what's happened? Tyler Boyd, L'Jarius Sneed, some of the other moves they made in the draft and in free agency. Now you got people saying, whoa now, Tennessee's building them a little bit of a roster here because we had money to work with. We had a top 10 draft pick to work with. And when you have that, hey, people think of rebuilds as, oh, that's a 3-year process that you've got to do over time. And sure, you can't do everything in one offseason, but when you've got a lot of money and you've got a top 10 draft pick, that helps things. And when you move forward with the assumption, they're saying we don't know who the quarterback's going to be, you have to go forward with Will Levis at this point. You have to. You have to say, this is going to be our guy and we're going to build around him.
But remember, this is a whole new building.
Yeah.
Whole new building, whole new coaching staff, whole new vision for what the future should look like. And now you're kind of watching them build it. And I think there's a connection to Jacksonville as well.
Yeah, his wide receiver coach is now in Tennessee. And I guess they got along very well. But like the Titans could have went two ways after Vrabes gets fired and Derrick Henry's gone and Tannehill's gone. Like it's the end of an era there. And they signed Lloyd Cushenberry, who was one of, like, people had as, like, the top center on the market. And then they go get Tony Pollard. Now they go get Calvin Ridley. So they made additions to, those are 3 big additions to their offense for Levis if he's going to be the guy going
What's
forward.
the deal in the AFC South?
Well, they know it's the best. They know it's the best division in the league.
You don't have to say that. I understand where you're coming from because the AFC North is pretty good. They just got better with Derrick Henry coming in there.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry in his press conference yesterday, you see how cool he looked?
So big.
It's a no-brainer. He said, and then like, hey, Derrick, after we heard it, we all thought like, of course he's a Baltimore.
Perfect.
That's like a perfect fit for them. So obviously there's great divisions, great teams everywhere, but the AFC, he's so big, so fast, so strong.
Huge.
And now he has like a chip on his shoulder because the Titans team that he's only been with are like, we're kind of moving on.
Done.
But there's no gimmies. Like you're talking about in the North and
in the South, there's no gimmies.
There's no gimmies. Like there's a lot of divisions where
it was a mutual parting. End of an era in Nashville. Derrick Henry was the old era. You can't cling to the past while looking to the future. Come on.
There's no gimmies, and I think the South is one of them for sure.
Yeah, it's becoming that. Houston Texans make a lot of plays. Tennessee Titans make a lot of plays. Indianapolis Colts signed Joey Flacco.
No big deal.
He'll be joining us in about 30 seconds or so. Cannot wait to talk to him because we were very confused by his market because Jameis goes to Cleveland. Jacoby goes to New England.
Darnold.
And he had ties.
Darnold goes to Minnesota.
Tyrod to the Jets.
Marcus Mariota goes to
Washington.
The Commanders.
Minshew.
Goes to the Raiders. So, like, backup quarterback.
So, I think when you look at the AFC South and Titans have been aggressive, and I think that's just because of the cap space and because of the money they had. Like you said, they had an option. They could have, getting rid of Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry and Mike Vrabel. They could have just said, okay, here we go from the ground up. Or you could say, hey, we've got a quarterback that has shown enough that like we could just with our money, with our draft pick, build up as much as we can, help him out, get him in a position to succeed, and see what we got here. I like the way we've done it personally. And, you know, I think that was mostly fair analysis. I think when you look at the AFC South, you look at what Houston was able to do with CJ Stroud last year, that'll wake some teams up. When you have a young quarterback come in and light it up like Stroud did with the Texans last year, that makes the Coltons. Who's the Coltons? Colton is just some guy down the street. The Colts, the Jaguars, and the Titans. I combine the Colts and the Titans, the Coltons. The Colts, the Jags, and the Titans. That makes those three teams wake up and say, hey, we better get good quick. Because Houston, they won the division in their coach's first year and their quarterback's first year. So we better make some moves or we're going to get left behind quick. So I think that's kind of what's going on there. Mostly fan. This is probably the least mad I've been after watching one of these clips. But I mean, it's Pat. So it is what it is. Let me know what you think in the comments. Give me some other clips to watch. Bye.